We'll be right back with a look at what could be our 51st state. Puerto Rico, and the voting could come next year. To find out why some Puerto Ricans are for statehood and others against it, I traveled there recently for this report. Puerto Rico has been part of the United States since we took it from Spain in 1898. Congress made Puerto Ricans U.S. citizens in 1917, and in 1952, the island became a U.S. Commonwealth, a sort of little brother to the rest of the country. Today, Puerto Ricans can travel freely to and from the mainland. They serve in the American military, and they enjoy all the privileges of any American, except they can't vote directly for president and have no congressman, and thus little clout in Washington. That is a big reason why many Puerto Ricans think now is the time for their island to become the 51st state. But their view isn't the only one. Opponents of statehood point out that Puerto Ricans would have to start paying income taxes, and there are fears statehood would dilute Puerto Rico's cultural identity. Whether on Division Street in Chicago or Calle de la Fortaleza here in Old San Juan, the controversy runs just as hot when you talk about Puerto Rico remaining a commonwealth or becoming a state or achieving its independence.
I prefer Puerto Rico to stay the way it is than become a state or independence.
Because of the tax benefits?
Absolutely. You understand that?
Yes, sir, I certainly do.
You don't live in the state, you pay taxes even on a piece of bread.
I like state.
Why?
Because I feel American, and also I feel free. You know, I don't like the way they live in Cuba and other places.
There's a third argument over statehood. Puerto Ricans, like news vendor Jorge Rosado, want total independence from the U.S. and say they would fight for it.
Si el gobierno de Estados Unidos nos ataca, nosotros atacaremos al gobierno de Estados Unidos, que es nuestro enemigo común, no el pueblo
Soon,
mexicano.
Rosado and other Puerto Ricans may have an opportunity to do more than just talk about the future of Puerto Rico. Governor Carlos Romero Barceló is an avowed statehooder, and if his forces win this year's November election, Romero has promised an island-wide vote on the issue. Romero is for statehood, even though it would mean Puerto Rico could lose such Commonwealth status benefits as $3.4 billion worth of social welfare programs.
We have no political rights on the Commonwealth, and the nation we're citizens of. That's untenable. To say that we want to disenfranchise ourselves and our children and our children's children for some allegedly economic benefits, we would not believe in democracy.
Romero does not base his argument for statehood on democracy alone. He believes Puerto Rico is now healthy enough to start paying its own way.
30 years ago, Puerto Rico was a Caribbean poorhouse. We were poorer than Haiti, than Jamaica, the Dominican Republic. It is almost impossible to believe that when you see Puerto Rico today. Yet today, without any mineral resources, with such a density population, they have the highest per capita income, the highest standard of living of any political jurisdictions south of the Rio Grande.
It's true, the number of manufacturing jobs here have reached a new high of 157,000. Even so, the official unemployment rate is still 18%. Per capita income is just $2,800 a year. Whether statehood would automatically improve that is doubtful. In fact, unemployment could rise because many American corporations, which now pay no corporate taxes in Puerto Rico, say they would pull out of the island if it becomes the 51st state. These and other reasons are why up to 45% of Puerto Ricans support leaving their island just the way it is, a commonwealth. Statehood is thought to be supported by about 50% of the island's 3.25 million residents. Among the supporters of independence are the radical Puerto Rican socialists. I talked with party spokesman Horacio Morales.
We reject statehood because statehood is the culmination of colonialism. And we reject Commonwealth because Commonwealth has been the cosmetic of colonialism. As a state of the United States, we think that the Puerto Rican as a people will not survive. We will lose our nationality, we will lose our culture, and there will be a projection of the reality that the Puerto Ricans, which are living in the United States, will be.
That's a fear that doesn't seem to worry most Puerto Ricans. Their island is 800 miles from Florida, Close, but not too close. And after all, Spanish has been the dominant language in Puerto Rico for centuries. As for the effect statehood might have on the rest of the country, the answer is very little, save for one key area. Statehood supporters like Governor Romero point out that all of Latin America will be watching to see what becomes of Puerto Rico.
When Puerto Rico becomes a state, the gap of misunderstanding between the nation and Latin America will begin to crumble. And the reason I say that is because Latin Americans will see that for the first time, here is a community, a Spanish Hispanic community, being brought into the nation as partners. Obviously, that's actions speak louder than words. And they will see that there is no prejudice against Hispanic people, that the nation opens its arms and brings in the Puerto Ricans as brothers. And I think that will be very, very significant to improving relations with Latin America.
Even if more than 50% of all Puerto Ricans do vote for statehood, that may not be enough for Congress. More than 80% of the residents in Hawaii and Alaska voted for statehood, and yet Congress didn't admit the 49th and the 50th states until several years later. And I'll tell you, Bob, one high Puerto Rican official told me that Puerto Rico will become a state during this decade.
Some people may look back when we were in Alaska a year ago. A lot of Alaskans said, boy, I wish we never became a state. Taxes are up, more bureaucrats here than we know what to do with.
Yes, well, they have the advantage of not paying taxes, but apparently they feel there's a greater benefit in being a state.
We'll be right back after a short break and this weekly reminder of where you can learn